Welcome back to the reality, guys. I'm your host, Billy Blinks, joined as always by my co-host, Brian.
Got it, buddy.
Back to talk one of our favorites. It's Monday night. That means Below Deck Sailing Yacht Season 4, Episode 6. This is Clash and Burn. We're back still at Charter 3. This was John, his kids, his girlfriend. We made the jokes last week about the espresso martinis. We made jokes about the sundaes and the smoothies. The sundaes were gone. The smoothies were back. But what also was back this episode, unfortunately, and we did get to a little bit of a head at the end of the episode, was Daisy's patience. Daisy's been having a little bit of a rough go of it. Daisy has felt that Glenn and the exterior maybe are kind of taking her and the interior for granted. The interior did have some challenges this week, obviously, and we can go through the bullet points as we kind of run through the episode. But I want to get your vibe and your read on it, Bri, on like, do you think Daisy's kind of expression of emotion and kind of where she's coming from was warranted or not?
I don't know if like crying about it like that is good, but I mean I feel like they are getting put in a disadvantage at a lot of times. Like I know you don't like Glenn and he's like, oh well, I think these we should send an interior and there's no reason. And just I just also feel like the Gary keeps getting like in the spotlight of guests and like invited to dinner. And I could totally see how that would piss her off. Like having to serve him, like being stressed out. Like I totally get it. So I'm kind of siding more with her than I am with probably Gary's team.
I feel like Lucy and Mads have held up pretty well. Lucy did melt the hole in the dress this week, which was like I felt bad for her. I couldn't imagine. I'd be gasping myself too. My
Yeah.
stomach would drop. It was, it was like, it did say that it was able to be ironed. So they thought it should be able to be steamed. Obviously, they had the heat turned up too much, but that's that kind of stuff that we see here. Is the stuff I not like to see for the guests, but those are the type of things that happen on vacations, right? Those are and that's when I want to actually see the live, real reactions of these people. And I'm curious to see how they would react if there wasn't a camera on them.
Yeah, I agree because it's just also just you don't know how expensive it is, and like you're doing like I know they do maid stuff like turning beds and things, but like I think doing that is a whole nother level of I don't know, just ironing and steaming.
They said they're going to reimburse them. I mean, wouldn't that probably be if it was something expensive? Would that come out
I,
of all of their tips? Would the owner of the boat just do it out of, hey, this is just kind of hazard pay and this kind of stuff happens sometimes? So I'm very
I
curious. Let
guess.
people in the comments know, would they actually take it from the people directly or would they take it from the boat owner? That's actually something I would really like to know.
Hmm.
The end of the episode had a kind of a funny tagline from Chase. He was talking about how to Alex how it's great to not be one of the heads of the departments because all of the heads of the departments are starting to not get along. Uh, Gary obviously has gotten on Daisy's nerves, not only this charter season, but others. This dude got to miss the first charter because of COVID, and he keeps getting invited to dinner too. And I don't remember many other people besides captains getting invited this many times early on, especially in a season. But he got to have the whole dinner while everyone else was working. And then he did set off our boy Colin, who we've been big fans of. And he even did kind of name drop the fact that look how stressful my first week was, and you don't see me getting upset. And we'll talk about the tip meeting in a second. But
Mm.
he also is kind of sick of Gary and thinks Gary's kind of using his position to be a jerk and to try to get off with things like having dinner for 2 hours. And then when they're all getting together to set the desserts up, he goes off for a cigarette break and still won't let go of it the next day when he tries to say, Colin's not a big deal, right? And Colin's like, no, you were a jerk. And he ends angry. So, how do you feel about the heads of the household and about Colin specifically turning on his boy Gary?
Totally pro Colin. I don't like Gary at all. Like him less and less every week.
I mean, Colin literally fixed the boat, which may now be
Yeah.
broken again next week. But for now, they've gotten two charters on the water because of Colin.
Yeah. Yeah, I
The,
mean,
the
like you said, Gary's doing a power trip here to me. That's like all I see is just abusing power, getting it, like you said, invited to dinners. I can see why people are fed up with him. Like I would be fed up with him.
Oh, for sure. I mean, remember too about Collins, like boat, the engine manufacturers were like, no, shut it down, break it down. And he was able to fix it.
Yeah.
Aisha, I've been calling her Alicia all season. So I guess it is Aisha, unless Captain Good for Nothing actually just doesn't know his own crew's name. Glenn jumped in on the wings. Glenn had a nice meal. Glenn just gets, I mean, he was Glenn. I know Glenn's probably like a really sweet guy, actually. It's kind of this bit that I have going with the Captain Good for Nothing thing. He
Mhm.
did get interrupted while he was trying to park the boat today, too, which I thought was really funny. Thought he handled
Yeah,
that well.
yeah, I would have been like, yo, you gotta walk away, bro. Like, just give me 5 minutes.
So this would probably actually be the first week, Brian, where we could actually talk about Chef having maybe some difficulties. This was the first time this season where they were really heavily highlighting the time in between courses. That's a classic Rachel move.
Mhm.
Glenn being out there obviously makes it a little bit more high pressure, but the food's always great. So, like, what is was your take this week? Do you think she's slipping a little bit, or do you think they're exaggerating how long it, like, how impactful that length is?
I mean, that one was like 40 minutes, but
That is a long time.
again, like they're adding Glenn, they're adding Gary. That's two more dishes. Like interior's not getting help at all. It doesn't look like it. So I'm not gonna I'm not gonna throw her like under the bus. I still think it was just maybe a one time thing. And even when Rachel said like the course stuff, it just kind of gets it's harder.
It is harder. Everyone wants these really elaborate dinners too, which I don't blame them for the money they're spending, but it is funny because they do have all these people doing the exterior. They have all the people on the interior, the deck. They have people on the interior, and they always just leave the chef one person to do these crazy
Yeah,
things. Let one of the interior or deck like 4 hours of each a day and help the damn chef because it would make a world of difference. I feel like a
I
second
agree.
set of
And
hands.
she's like getting like full fish that she's got to fillet and
That monkfish was gigantic. I have
yeah.
that note
What
here.
was she calling it? Fillet? Is that what was
For
she?
that, yeah. Well, everywhere else except for America
Yeah.
calls it a fillet.
Oh, the fillet. Yeah, but I mean, she's been working, and like these people can't even use a blender. They are like, oh, I gotta wash dishes, or like they're just walking in there and doing their own thing. Like Gary's just walking in there and like, oh, can you wash a dish? He's like, oh yeah, I guess I can.
Yeah, John's book launch party was overall a success, and the award ceremony that Gary emceed gets to have all the fun stuff so far. I am looking forward to next week because next week is a classic in between charters. We may see the beginning of the next charter, right? But more than
Mhm.
likely, it's going to be mostly this day trip to them having dinner, getting drunk. Now the hookup stuff is going to come back up again. So we will get more of a social and we probably will get some of the storylines of the personal relationships and the rivalries next week, which I am looking forward to. And also, like we said, we definitely will because we do get the boat steaming, but that's going to be the very end. We know that.
Definitely. This episode for sure though, that book party was so lame, man. I can't believe that like they're paying all this money and that's like the kind of entertainment they're having. I thought that was so lame on all levels.
I keep saying it. You're better off going to like an all inclusive.
Yeah,
Way better.
no, man. I don't. You got to be stupid rich, I think, to be wasting money on that.
I did think Chase was really funny this episode because he did have the line, I think, of the night when he was talking about how crappy it was to have to clean the boat overnight, but then was talked about all the crappy jobs he had before. And it's like,
Hmm.
our job is so easy. I'm going to keep
Right.
my mouth shut because this job is really easy and we get paid a lot to do it.
Yeah.
I love this dude. I love his
Hmm.
perspective at least. I don't know if I'll end up loving him by the end of the season, but it was the first time I've ever heard anyone just admit that it's not that bad of a gig.
Yeah. Especially, yeah, you're making 2,200 euros in like 3 days.
Yeah, 23,000 was the tip. Always
Yeah.
strong tips on this sailing yacht season so far. It seems that like this is a not the highest end clientele we saw in the last season of Below Deck, that there was a crazy high tip amount, just
Hmm.
because of the size of the boat, which makes sense. But for
Hmm.
a sailing boat with less people, they do pretty damn well.
Yeah, I agree.
Overall, like I said, I think this has been a pretty solid season. I think this was perfect timing for us to get an extended look at them socially. We see Gary admitting to being jealous of Mads next week, which will be interesting. I would like to see if people are going to get sick of Gary as a whole, if the group is, or if he'll have any allies, because right now, at least it's teasing that Colin's not really on his side, and Colin would be his main ally.
I mean, he's doing more dog stuff next week where he's like hooking up with Mads in the bridge. Is that what I think it's the bridge, right?
God, I hope Glenn finds out. It's so bad. It's so trashy.
Yeah, yeah, I don't like that dude at all. Like nothing about him. I enjoy.
Gives us the heebie jeebies, but we'll see. Make sure you're checking out everything else that we are covering. If you love Bravo, we are covering Vanderpump Rules. We will have the season finale review out on Wednesday evening after it airs on Bravo. We will also have all episodes coverage of all three reunion weeks. We're also going to cover the Randall scandal documentary that's coming out on Hulu next Monday about Randall, Lala. Vanderpump Rules is a big kind of subject of the documentary, obviously. So, right up our alley. We'll make sure we cover that to share it with our Vanderpump Rules fans. Check out all the other coverage of things we have going on. 90 Day Fiance, The Other Way, has just hit its finale. We have a few weeks left of its awesome reunion special. Everyone hates each other. You got to check it out. Check out our other shows as well, like Survivor, The Challenge. We did have most of this season of Married at First Sight. We will have Claim to Fame season 2, The Bachelorette, Stars on Mars, Big Brother, that are all coming this summer, and just really anything and everything reality TV. We have you covered. Check out the TikTok as well. Covers a lot of other TV, and the merch store. Link right below. Awesome merch. Brian's wearing it. It's real stuff. It's not cheap. Some people have already posted on social media. So if you have your merch, make sure you're posting, tagging at Reality Guys on Instagram stories, on your Twitter timeline, so people can see that it is nice quality stuff. But until our next review, for myself and Brian, thank you. Peace.